So we are discussing point 11. Then last week we did discuss about the concept of universal existence. And then the question we had was, what is spiritual progress? So for each individual, even though we are all practicing under the heartfulness, still for each individual, this progress means different. So that's why last week I brought up this question, what is spiritual progress means to you? So maybe we can go around, everyone and see, what each individual can share. Definitely we can hear a lot of good insights, right? And then we did talk about restlessness. So why restlessness? And we dealt with this, in length in our last discussion. But here, restlessness feels like it is something negative. But truly speaking, this restlessness is because, what is in the offing means what the end goal is in the vision, and then we are not there yet. Like especially when we go on a long drive, while going to the destination, it feels like a journey. I mean, it's joyful, but when we are coming back, the last 5 miles is the most painful journey. So we are restless to get home, correct? So it is that kind of restlessness. The home is nearby, the destiny here, the destiny is our home. Basically, we strayed away from the home. That's what the spiritual sciences say. So it's coming home. Now, that last leg of the journey seems restless, and then, we are in a hurry, we want to get over with. So it's that kind of restlessness. All right. So in our journey, restlessness is the forerunner. And the condition we experience from all this restlessness is pain. Not intolerable pain, but growing pains akin to the pain of a butterfly breaking free from the shackles of the cocoon. It is in pain that makes you a new you. Science shows this too. When people are afflicted by pain and trauma, those with strong spiritual core emerge resilient. So they use pain to create a new version of themselves. But remember, we don't go around seeking restlessness and pain. So the heartfulness way is the natural way. Whatever comes, we take it and use it for progress. Also, important to understand is that the restlessness I'm describing here is spiritual restlessness, unlike the restlessness triggered because of an ailment or some other inconvenience. In the case of story of the Buddha felt that through pain by afflicting on his body, he probably will attain realization. See, Buddha tried many ways. I mean, finally, when he meditated under that tree, and then he had this higher experience, what he called nirvana. But that's the final step. But his journey was, he wandered many places, he went to many gurus, right? And in once he said, okay, I'm not eating anything. He only ate 1 grain of rice. He drank his own urine. This is all documented. He drank his own urine and he became skinny, bone skinny. It would show all his bones. There are statues of Buddha, like skinny Buddha. I don't know if any of you have seen those statues, right? So one lady approaches him, says, "What are you doing to yourself?" And then she cooks a nice meal and she feeds him with her own hands. Then Buddha realizes that it is not this kind of a pain I'm afflicting on myself is going to take me anywhere. Then he remembers his wife, his child, right? So seeing that, a lot of people left him, a lot of disciples left him because now they felt he's going back into the family life and attachment and all that stuff. See, this whole concept of attachment, detachment without proper understanding, many people wasted their life. Anyways, so, and in fact, he calls his wife and he calls his son, after that, they both lived with him until his end. And then he starts exploring his journey into meditation and the real inner journey, and that's when he attains the nirvana. So, you see, I mean, this idea that I have to go through, I have to inflict pain on myself to attain something is a very wrong approach. So, here, the kind of pain which Babaji has spoken about is that it's not exactly like the pain and pain, right? Because now that which I have been longing all my life is right in front of me, yet it is far. I mean, it is so close, yet it is far. There is a very beautiful ghazal. Ghazal means like it's a poetry written in Urdu. And there is a song, it says, "You're so close to my heart, but that small gap between you and me is unbearable." So now we have come thus far to the 11th point, and there is only few more steps. It is almost there. I can see you, I am longing for you, but I cannot reach. So it is that kind of a pain we are talking about. This pain is not suffering. This pain is the most, what should I say? It is something to be, uh, I cannot say enjoyed, I cannot say cherished, but it is something to be experienced. It's the pain of this touching, I mean, coming to the goal. Once the goal is attained, the whole journey, the best experience of the journey is this pain. Okay. So it's like that. So unlike the restlessness triggered because of an ailment or some other inconvenience, spiritual restlessness thrives as an undercurrent in the heart, inspiring you to keep moving. There's a great joy and fervor in this silent undercurrent that keeps propelling you onwards. So at the 10th chakra, restlessness, pain trigger a condition that can be described as non-peace, but try to imagine a lump of salt without saltiness. It looks the part, feels the part, but its key essence is its saltiness, which is not there. So that's why Babaji described this condition of reality. He said it is blah. There is nothing to feel, nothing to experience. He used the word Rekistan. Rekistan means like a sand desert. Sand dunes all everywhere. There is no sign of life. There is no sign of water. don't know which direction to go. There's nothing to experience. So that's why, and that is also one of the reason to come out of that reality and get into bliss, because bliss is in the offing. You can, it's so you're there, you feel it, it is almost there, but you are in this conditionless condition, which is ascribed as a reality. So you want to transcend this as quickly as possible. And according to Babaji, this is the vast region which we are going to cross, right? So that's why this restlessness. So something similar happens with peace at the 11th chakra. It feels like peace, but there is no peacefulness there. Only the agitation to move, enveloped in this point, in this most beautiful restlessness, you continue to progress in the region of absolute. Those of you who have seen this movie, Ben-Hur, I don't know, the old version was really depicted good. I probably spoke about it so many times. In that, so this guy is captured as a prisoner. They're going from place to place. The Roman soldiers have captured him. And then at one place, they were going through a hard, desert like, Phoenix, right? It's very hot and everyone is thirsty, dying of thirsty. And then they reached a place, a kind of a village where people are feeding these prisoners water. But the commander says, no water for Ben-Hur. And the Ben-Hur is almost fainting, and he faints, is almost fainting, and he says, oh God. And then a figure appears uh, and feeds water. And the commander rushes to him. I said no water for this guy. But, he doesn't show the face of that person, but you know that it is Jesus. And he washes his face, Ben-Hur's face, and he feeds the water. And he keeps, so as the battalion is moving, he keeps turning back and seeing, you know, the kind of restlessness you see in that guy's face, Ben-Hur's face, is amazing. So you have now met the God. Now you're going away from him. So that restlessness, that longing keeps him alive. No one survives that journey except him. Right? They go into the battle and the ship is sinking and these guys are tied to chains. Somehow it happens, he escapes and he comes back and takes his kingdom back. But that moment, I can never forget. It's amazing, very touching scene. You must watch it. Just that scene, you know. So there you see how the longing is created. Almost he's in awestruck looking at the face. Now he's not worried about his thirst, his what, nothing. Everything happens very naturally and it keeps him alive. You see, this restlessness is so much depth in it. It is not the usual restlessness we feel, you know. So think about it. If you get a chance, watch that scene. So, does your restlessness for spiritual growth make it easier for you to accept daily challenges at work and in the family? Do you have an example of a recent challenge that you cheerfully accepted? So, what is the greatest lesson you have learned from something that you have repeatedly struggled within your life? Has this lesson inspired you to embrace your human foibles with humility? So, I mean, all these are self-reflection questions. You can go through it and put them in the journal. So now coming back to so I think we finished 11th chakra. So we're going to 12th chakra in our next session, right? So now coming back to the question. So I mean, anyone can speak. What is spiritual progress means to you? So you can unmute yourself and can talk.
Yeah. Well, I think it's being able to spend more time in touch with your higher essence.
That's good, but what is the progress in here? Cliff, unmute.
Just the progress is as you are able to be more in touch, there's probably just a general transformation in your personality that things don't seem to bother you, or you recover from volatile emotions much faster and they're not as deep.
Hmm. Nice. Thank you, Cliff. Anyone else?
I can take next if no one is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah. I think, I think it's every person has their own experience, right? But in my case, actually, I think it's very essential journey for every human to understand actually where he is heading to, right? And I think the meditation, heartfulness, all these things actually, and talking to people with some good understanding, actually it will make your line even clear and in the right direction for your spiritual growth, and as well as actually your thought movements.
Right.
I don't know whether I summarized it correctly.
Very good. Yeah, thank you. So
Thank you.
like you said in the beginning, right? So this, even though we are all practicing the same system, but when it comes to idea of spiritual progress, it changes from person to person. So here there is no right answer, there is no wrong answer. Even this concept of spiritual progress evolves as we practice. Okay. All right. I just read the question from Greg on the chat, but I'll come to it in a minute. But if anyone else wants to talk about spiritual progress. So I'm not calling anyone's names because I don't want to put anyone on the spot. So
I'll say a word.
yeah,
I think as we start, we are more worried about the progress. But then as we continue, somehow that whole progress and I think it's more joy in the journey, in my opinion.
right. All right. If everyone is silent, we can go to Greg's question. So bliss, is it point 11 or beyond bliss? So when Babaji's, famous statements, right? When religion ends, spirituality begins, and when spirituality ends, reality begins. When reality ends, bliss begins. So the beginning of the reality is the 11th point. And once we cross the 12th point, we enter the state of bliss, which is the 13th point. if I have to, equate it, and it is not documented anywhere in our literature, but this is my understanding. So that's why there is so much restlessness at the 11th point, because now we are going through this experience of reality. So, and coming to the idea of spiritual progress, to me, it's all about when we started our first meditation, for the very first time, with the touch of transmission, there is an inner churn, you can say inner condition. We recognize. And from then on, all our practice is refining that condition. And refining that condition to me is the spiritual progress. As we refine this condition, we are journeying through all these points, but it is not the points, is not the real progress. It's a refinement of that condition is the real progress. And in order to refine, and this condition is refining, so the condition first time we experience at a certain dimension. And as it gets refined, the same condition is reflected in many dimensions. These many dimensions are the points where it is reflecting. But still, it is the refinement. Even after crossing the 13th point, the refinement goes on. There is no end to that refinement. Even for so-called, we say the masters have achieved it, but even for them, the refinement is continuous. So it's all about that refinement, and the refinement is more active as much as we pay attention to it. The moment we lose that attention, then if the practice becomes mechanical, and we hit that space sometimes, for me personally, it happened many times. It becomes monotonous, mechanical. You're doing meditation, but that, something is missing in that meditation. That's when we must recognize, and we have to deepen our prayers. So prayer is the one which brings that refinement, and meditation is to basically absorb that refinement. So all these practices complement each other. And whenever you feel something is mechanical, intense your prayers. Okay. So that's the understanding. So we have Greg here today. Greg, can I request you to conduct the meditation?